of stone, shoulder to shoulder, with a man yelling about bread prices and a woman breastfeeding while arguing with a vendor over the price of boiled snails. If you were a woman and not a Vestal virgin, you were even higher up. Women, slaves, foreigners, and other undesirables got the nosebleeds. The views were bad, the shade was non-existent, and the smell of 50,000 Romans having feelings in wool tunics drifted upwards like an old factory punishment. There were no cushions, no backrests, no cup holders. If you needed to pee, good luck finding your way back. And if someone spilled wine on you from above, that was just part of the ambiance. But you came anyway, because the Colosseum wasn't just about the games. It was about being seen, even if all anyone saw was the top of your sweaty head. Welcome to the cheap seats. No one here is important, but everyone is entertained. So, you've made it to your seat, high up, hot, and surrounded by people who believe personal hygiene is more of a seasonal suggestion than a daily habit. As you prepare for the festivities, your stomach growls. You didn't bring anything. Rookie mistake. Luckily, you're not out of options. The Colosseum had its own version of stadium vendors, only instead of peanuts, get your peanuts! It's more like olives, slightly fermented and suspiciously warm olives. The ancient Romans loved to snack. You could buy honey cakes, sausages, dates, figs, and if you were feeling adventurous, garum-drenched nuts. Garum, for the uninitiated, was Rome's favorite fish sauce. It smelled like something you'd find in the bottom of a boat after 3 days of bad decisions. Romans loved it. You'd love it too if your only other condiment was crushed goat liver. Vendors wandered up and down the steps, shouting their wares over the roar of the crowd. The man behind you is loudly arguing with one over the price of vinegared wine. It's watered down, but still effective, particularly when you haven't eaten since yesterday and the midday sun is actively trying to kill you. Then there are the smells. Not just the food, though the blend of roasted meat and cheap perfume is doing its best to clog your sinuses, but also the crowd. The Colosseum, for all its glory, was a public bath's evil twin. No flowing water, no fresh air, just sun-baked humanity in tunics. To your left, a man fans himself with a scroll. To your right, someone brought a goat, not for food, for company. In front of you, a child is chewing something that used to be bread and now resembles stone. And somehow above it all floats the unmistakable scent of sweat, sand, and slowly wilting dignity. Still, there's an odd charm to it. The vendors are part of the theater. They know when to quiet down, when to yell, and how to dodge a vomit stain on the stairs like seasoned professionals. You didn't come for the snacks, but now you can't imagine surviving without them, especially once the games start. You'll want something to chew on and emotionally process while watching a man try to fight a leopard with a fork. The games always started with a bang, or more accurately, a beheading. Before the gladiators took the stage, the Colosseum warmed up the crowd with a little morning bloodletting, courtesy of condemned criminals, war prisoners, and people who probably just annoyed the wrong senator. These weren't your standard boring executions either. No, this was Rome. This was entertainment. The condemned were often forced to reenact famous myths, but with the kind of realism that would make modern directors say, hey, maybe tone it down. Take the story of Prometheus, for instance. In the myth, he's chained to a rock while an eagle eats his liver every day. In the Colosseum version, a criminal is chained to a fake rock and a real eagle is encouraged to dig in. Not symbolic violence, actual organ removal. Another crowd favorite was Orpheus in the underworld. It ended predictably with Orpheus being torn apart by wild animals. And yes, actual leopards were involved. You're starting to realize that when Romans said live theater, they meant it very, very literally. The audience loved this part, cheering, laughing, booing like it was a bad comedy set. The logic was simple. These people were criminals, and public execution was a civic duty and a public service all rolled into one. It was justice wrapped in spectacle, dipped in horror, and served before lunch. Sometimes the condemned were simply thrown to the beasts with no backstory or dramatic flair. Just man versus lion minus the inspirational music. These moments were loud, fast, and if you blinked, over. The crowd loved the unpredictability. The man next to you is already yelling, "Bite the leg!" and it's 8:30 in the morning. It's hard to say what's more shocking, the violence or how completely normal it feels here. This isn't considered extreme. This is just the warm-up. And as the final body is dragged off stage and the arena is raked, you find yourself clapping. Not because you're bloodthirsty, but because everyone else is clapping and you don't want to seem like the weird one. Congratulations, you're now emotionally invested, and the real show hasn't even started. After the criminals have been properly mythologized and dismembered, it's time for round 2 of the morning spectacle. The beast hunts, or venestiones, for those of you who like your Latin with a side of animal cruelty. Now, if you thought this part was going to be a calm interlude between gore and glory, think again. Rome didn't conquer half the world just to import silk and spices. No, they brought back everything with teeth. Lions from North Africa, elephants from India, bears from Gaul, ostriches from wherever ostriches came from before they regretted it. The arena floor transforms. Trees, fake rocks, and scenery rise dramatically from hidden trapdoors, because why just butcher an animal when you can give it a theme? Then out comes the hunter. A venator, not a gladiator, mind you. This guy has fewer muscles, more decorative feathers, and probably a deep sense of regret. His job is to show off, maybe fire an arrow or two, and dramatically dodge whatever angry carnivore bursts from the tunnel. Cue a lion that hasn't eaten in 2 days. The crowd is thrilled. Bets are placed. Someone behind you is already shouting, "Two sisters on the lion!" And the woman next to him is trying to sell fig pastries shaped like leopards. Capitalism lives. Sometimes it's alive. Sometimes it's one-on-one, hunter versus beast. Other times it's mass chaos. A dozen panthers released at once, while archers on platforms try not to shoot each other. On special occasions, elephants are brought in. You haven't truly experienced ancient Rome until you've seen an elephant stomp on a wooden replica of a barbarian village, while an official explains how this represents Rome's triumph over uncivilized lands. It's equal parts nationalistic pageant and animal-themed panic attack. And if you're wondering whether the animals ever won, yes, they did. Sometimes the hunters didn't walk out, and the crowd loved that too. There's something deeply Roman about cheering both the hunter and the thing trying to eat him. Eventually, the beasts are killed, the scenery is cleared, and someone with a broom and a very high tolerance for trauma comes out to clean up what's left of the morning. You take a breath, because up next, actual humans fighting each other for your entertainment. The crowd hushes, trumpets blare. Somewhere a nervous goat bleats. It's finally time for what everyone's been waiting for, the gladiators. Forget the criminals and the leopards. This is the main event, the part where trained professionals try to turn each other into decorative stains on sand. If the beast hunts were breakfast, this is the roasted meat platter of the day, served with a side of existential crisis. Gladiators weren't just fighters, they were celebrities. Think modern athletes, but with more scars and less dental coverage. Some were slaves, some were volunteers, some were nobles going through a phase. All of them knew how to make an entrance. And what an entrance it is! They emerge from the darkened tunnels like rock stars, or maybe like livestock who've learned choreography. Their armor gleams in the sun. Helmets sparkle. Swords are drawn. The crowd erupts. Children scream. Someone throws a garland. You're not even sure who these guys are, but you cheer anyway because peer pressure is eternal. The announcer, yes, there is one, calls out the names, origins, and combat styles of each gladiator. A retiaris with a net and trident, a secer with a smooth helmet and a short sword, a mildo with a fish-shaped crest that's not helping him win any fashion contests. Each pairing is carefully chosen for drama. Big versus small, fast versus armored, local hero versus imported lunatic. This is a blood sport with casting direction. Then the fight begins. It's not just wild swinging. There's strategy, rhythm, pauses, feints, parrying, sand, lots of sand. Some fights end quickly. One bad step, one good stab. Others drag on for minutes as the fighters circle each other like angry ballet dancers with iron shoes. The crowd lives for it, gasping, cheering, shouting unsolicited advice from the upper tiers. Go for the neck! Use the net! Stop tripping on your own shield, Gas! You're on your room! You're on the edge of your very uncomfortable stone seat, because even from up here, you can feel the tension. This isn't some abstract performance. These men are fighting for survival, for fame, for a chance of not dying today. And the best part? It's still only midday. As you settle in for another round of organized mayhem, you begin to notice something. Not all gladiators look the same. That's because Rome didn't just want fighting. It wanted categories, themes, and stylistic bloodshed. This is less a brawl and more a very violent fashion show. Each gladiator type had their own distinct look, fighting style, and probability of getting impaled. Let's start with the retiarius.